Hello, I'm Casey Hanselman. Welcome to Group 4's group assignment, Speech Critiques. Hello, I'm Casey. As a group, we made speech suggestions and voted to narrow it down. Selected speeches included the Stanford commencement speech given by Steve Jobs and the 2008 presidential election victory speech given by Barack Obama. Both of these speeches were manuscript speeches delivered to an audience gathered for a shared purpose. Hello, Casey again. As stated by Beeb and Beeb, authors of public speaking and audience-centered approach, sacred traditions, revered institutions, and cherished and celebrated individuals can inspire your audience to change or reinforce attitudes, beliefs, values, or behavior. This quote is absolutely relevant to this particular speech because the peaceful transfer of power every 4 years, or 8 in the event of 2 terms served, is definitely a sacred tradition. The presidency itself is one of the most revered institutions, and the president-elect always brings inspiration that a new day of leadership is coming as we celebrate their election and upcoming inauguration. Also stated by Beeb and Beeb, the more credible and ethical a speaker is perceived to be, the greater the chances are that a listener will believe in, trust, and positively respond to the persuasive message of that speaker. Steve Jobs was one of the world's leading technological minds of his time. His mind is behind the creation of Apple, iPhone, and Pixar, just to name a few. You would be hard-pressed to find someone who has not heard of those, and because of the weight of his credibility, it makes him a perfect speaker for the audience to buy into his message being delivered on that day.
Hello, my name is Kyle Herrick and I will be narrating slides 4 and 5 for Group 4. Here on slide 4 you will find the links to the video and the transcript of the 2005 Stanford commencement speech delivered by Steve Jobs. On this slide we also wanted to draw attention to some of the keys of his speech. First, he made a brief yet clear introduction that he was there to share 3 stories with the graduates. He made it a point to use humor throughout the speech, which helps to draw interest from the audience and keep them well connected. During his stories that make up the body of the speech, it is clear that each has a purpose that is relevant to them on this occasion. It is also important to note that he transitions smoothly from one point to the next, and you can clearly identify positive reaction throughout the speech from the audience. Finally, he closed his speech with a powerful message that he picked up from his youth. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Moving on to slide 5, we noted some of the strengths of Steve Jobs as a speaker. It is clear his speech is well practiced, delivering it at an appropriate rate and never really losing his place within the speech. Being one of the world's leading technological minds, he also did a fantastic job avoiding jargon, keeping his mechanics of the English language to a normal conversational level. Noting that a lectern was utilized, he did well to keep distracting movements to a minimum, only occasionally touching his chin. It is clear he was relaxed in this position and did not noticeably grip the lectern, which can be seen as a sign of nervousness.
Group 4 found that Steve Jobs' speech at Stanford University's 2005 commencement ceremony was presented very clearly. We also found the topic for the speech to be a very appropriate choice for the audience. The audience was made up of graduating college students that were looking towards starting a new career. However, after critiquing his speech, we found that Mr. Jobs would have benefited from better eye contact with the audience. It was readily apparent that he was reading a majority of his speech from a fully written document. Reading mostly from his scripted speech also caused the delivery to come off as monotone and didn't allow for a lot of vocal variety. We also noticed some missed opportunities within the speech for effective pauses. One example of this would have been between 12:20 and 12:35 mark on the timeline. A pause between "now the new is you" and "but you will become the old" would have helped in emphasizing the point that he was trying to make. The point about doing what you love to do while you can and before you're replaced in life. In conclusion of the Group 4 critique on Steve Jobs' commencement speech, we'd like to point out that the speech was great. It was obviously well written. And in the introduction of the speech, Mr. Jobs used the fact that he had never graduated college as a strong attention getter, and this drew the audience in. Here was a very successful businessman who had made millions of dollars and revolutionized the computer industry. Here he is telling a group of recent college graduates that they had just accomplished something that he was never able to do. All the stories in his speech were well connected as well, and they put together a theme for the audience to follow. Pursue life and look for available opportunities and never settle. The overall critique from the group was the speech given by Mr. Jobs was good. However, he would have benefited from better eye contact. On the upside, he did manage to keep jargon and fillers to a minimum, and we did find that his gestures and postures were appropriate for delivering a speech from behind a lectern.
Good afternoon, my name is Manuel Mack. This evening I'll be doing a short informative narrative of slide 8 of my group's project. So as you can see, we have embedded the video as well as a transcript for your viewing pleasure. Now to highlight some of the keys of the speech. Let's begin with the presentation of the speech. President Obama's presentation of this speech was well presented and well rehearsed. To deliver a 25-minute speech without any notes, keeping your points in order with little to no jargon is well done. Which leads us to several keys of this speech, such as the charisma and sincere demeanor he so clearly demonstrated, as well as the natural delivery of the speaker. He did an excellent job of consistently involving the audience in his speech by either continuously thanking the audience and by making it evident that he cannot make any changes on his own, and it would take the work of the nation to make a change. I believe this is what keeps the audience engaged and drawn to the speaker. Finally, I think he really connected with the audience by telling the story of Ann Nixon. When hearing his story, it made you feel he knew each and every one of our stories, and he was going to somehow help make all our situations a better situation. Good afternoon. Once again, my name is Manuel Mack. I will be doing the narrative for slide 9 of my group project. This will conclude my portion of the narratives for this project. Here we'll be speaking on President Obama's speech delivery. President Obama's speech delivery was impeccable and well rehearsed, which I hinted in slide 8. He did very well with the pace of the speech. He was in no rush to get through the speech, but it was obvious that he relished the fact of standing on a stage and talking to the public with such ease. What was impressive about this speech is how intelligently yet plainly he spoke. This key aspect may seem minute and went unnoticed, but this played to the audience and helped to keep the attention of the audience. To conclude, he had very effective gestures to help highlight key points, but not to the point that it was distracting to the audience.
This is Yashika Sanders for Group 4. Group 4 found that President Barack Obama's 2008 victory speech was clear and well crafted. It was one of inspiration and hope. But President Obama seemed to have some focus on two teleprompters that were displayed on the left and the right of the podium. The teleprompters were not overtly noticeable up close, but as the cameras panned out, you could clearly see them and know that he was reading from a manuscript. With him using the teleprompters, this created a noticed back and forth movement with his head. If you weren't paying attention, you would have thought he was looking left and right to engage with the crowd. But even with the use of the teleprompters, President Obama still managed to deliver a great speech. The president displayed no other weaknesses during his speech delivery. This is Yashika Sanders for Group 4. In conclusion, Group 4 thought that President Barack Obama's 2008 victory speech was excellent. The speech was very well written. The purpose of the speech was clear and concise, to rally support for the president's upcoming presidency. His key statements drew big crowd reactions. One statement, like the story told about A.N. Nixon, a 106-year-old voter from Atlanta. This drew big reaction from the crowd. He also addressed key issues of the election. The length of his speech was appropriate and inspired Americans all over the country. Overall, Group 4 thought the speaker was excellent. President Obama's natural charisma was very clear. His influence and inspiration took over the audience. His vocal variety was well used. He didn't speak in a monotone voice. He avoided regionalism, which is important in a national address. He spoke intelligently, yet plainly, as to not alienate anyone in the audience. We identified his well-disguised weakness, the use of teleprompters. President Obama's use of the teleprompters during his address, though not overtly noticeable, he managed to deliver a great speech.
Hello, my name is Christian Sugebisai, member of Group 4. I'm in charge of narrating slide 12, 13, and 14. Slide number 12 is a combination of our speech comparison and our paraphrase from the authoritative source we use for our speech critic. As we compare Steve Jobs and Obama's speeches, we notice that they both have similarities as well as differences. In terms of similarities, they both gave a manuscript speech which allowed for wording to be precise. In addition, the speeches were beautifully written and that allowed the speakers to hold audience attention. As for the differences, President Obama had a stronger stage presence than Steve Jobs. His delivery was more natural, and he connected with his audience by providing a refreshing sense of possibilities. We think the fact that Jobs' audience was there for a different reason could have presented a handicap and possibly prevented him from connecting with them. As a group, we have concluded that Obama's speech was the best out of the two. Our paraphrase is a paragraph from a book titled Public Speaking: An Audience-Centered Approach, written by Stephen A. Beebe and Susan J. Beebe. The following slide is our conclusion. As we conclude our presentation, what we have learned from our analysis of both speeches is regardless of how beautifully written a speech is, a rehearsed delivery cannot be ignored. In addition, it is easier for a speaker to connect with his audience if they're there for any other reason than to listen to him. Finally, it is essential for a speaker to mask his flaws in order to powerfully convey his words. The following slide is our reference page listing the different sources we used. On behalf of our group, I would like to thank you for your time.